Welcome to Strong and Steady, where we talk about building strength, supporting your health, and choosing sustainable wellness for women in every season of life.
And I'm Brittany. I'm here with my co-host, Jessica. She's a mom of 4 littles with such a grounded, realistic approach to balance for low-tox living. She helps busy moms build healthy habits that actually work in real life without perfection or overwhelm.
And I'm Jessica, here with Brittany, a woman's health and fitness coach who specializes in elite aging. She helps women build strong bones and muscles so they can live their whole lives to the fullest with confidence, strength, and independence.
And together, we have over 2 decades specializing in the health and fitness industry. So whether you're in the thick of young motherhood
or focused on staying strong for the long run,
we are so glad you're here.
Hey y'all, welcome back to part 2 of this conversation. If you listened to part 1, you already know we started diving into Brittany's sister's VBAC journey after her C-section, and there was just too much good information to fit into one episode. In this second part, we're picking right back up where we left off, getting into more of her experience and what she learned along the way, and some of the details that really helped her make informed decisions and feel confident in her path. We're so glad you're back with us for this one because there's even more insight and encouragement in this half of the conversation. So let's jump back in.
So kind of like what you were talking about, like with positions, but how would you labor through a VBAC, or like how would you suggest someone to do that?
The best advice I ever got was when preparing for a VBAC, you're not preparing for a VBAC, you're preparing for labor. So a lot of the labor tips that you're going to see on Instagram, on Pinterest, through friendships are gonna be the same. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is a really good thing to do. Just knowing like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. Also knowing, the biggest thing for me was like, okay, there's the start of a contraction. I can handle anything for 60 seconds. Like I've got 3 boys. I can handle anything for 5 minutes. But like knowing, okay, well, I can handle this for 60 seconds. Birth comb I've heard is really good. I didn't have a chance to use it. But I have friends that have had 4 babies and they love their birth comb. That's really good. Getting into different positions. So, on all fours, doing, laying sideways, doing like walking around. If you're not dilating very quickly, doing, this sounds awful, doing lunges in the middle of a contraction will really help bring baby down. The one thing that saved me this last time was something called the Miles Circuit. You can look it up. It takes about an hour and a half, but it's just like, that was when I went from the first phase of labor into the second phase of labor as I was in Miles Circuit, and I felt baby move and hit my cervix. And I was like, okay, it's getting go time now. Getting in the hot shower, I don't like that. I would never birth in a tub just because I hate being wet. Like I hate washing dishes.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people love to, they're like, I went to labor, and so I immediately hopped in the shower.
That was me.
And they're like, I don't want my hair wet in the middle of labor. Like I just, but finding what works for you, because a lot of what you see on Instagram may not work for you. And just like really, again, it's getting in tune and attuned with your body and like what you want and what you need. Teaching your partner counter pressure points. I didn't want to be touched at all, except for like in the first part of labor. It was like, hey, can you like kind of push on my hips a little bit high? And when I'm in the middle of this contraction, and then by the time I got to the hospital, I was like, don't touch me. So like looking at these different positions, I labored a lot on the yoga ball. My husband that morning took the boys out for breakfast, and I just sat on the ball and kind of bounced and rotated and just, breathed through different contractions. Another thing that I did was rainbow breathing. So as soon as the contraction starts, you close your eyes and you imagine something red, and then you imagine something orange, and then something yellow, and like go through. And by the time you get to purple, then it's like your contraction's over, and it's kind of helps your brain. So most of the time I imagine my boys Santa Rainbow kids book of, here's these red flowers and here's these yellow, and and so, but basically preparing for labor, like that's what you're going to do. If you're going for a VBAC, labor at home as long as you can, but also if it's your third, don't be afraid to just get in the car and go, because it's going to come quickly.
Yeah, my third.
My third, I got to the hospital at 12:05 and he was there at 12:24.
Yeah, my third. From the time I woke up and went, is that a contraction, to her birth was about 3 hours. And like, yeah.
It's and there's something to be said about those like fast labors. Everybody's always like, "Oh my gosh, that's so nice." I'm like, "No, your brain doesn't have time to catch up with what's going on here. You're just like, "Oh, okay, we're pushing. I haven't had time to like, I've had 9 months, but I also haven't had time to recognize I'm having a
Yeah.
baby." Like there's something about that mental game right there. So, yeah. So that's what I would do is like, just labor through and paying attention. Avoiding an epidural if you can, because that epidural, what it does is it kind of shuts down that brain body access. And so I knew, I was like, I'm not getting an epidural because I'm going to know if something's wrong immediately. Like I'm going to be in tune with my body. I'm going to know if like, that kind of felt like it tore, or like baby's not moving as much or something. Like your body better than anyone else in that room. So avoiding the epidural. And I had my first night nurse kept coming in. She's like, "Are you sure you don't want the epidural? Are you sure you don't want the epidural?" And I said something very sassy to her that I will not repeat in public. And after that, she left me alone on the epidural. And then the last tip, this was a tip that my morning nurse who helped deliver the baby gave me, was like breathing low and vocalizing low. So just, mooing like a cow during those contractions. But what that does is that opens up your cervix, and that also helps provide pain relief. So looking for those natural ways to relieve pain in your own body, and using things like homeopathy, like arnica, is really good for helping through contractions. There's tinctures out there for like helping you in the middle of labor, in the middle of transition. And then at the end of the day, again, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because pregnancy is uncomfortable. It is meant to stretch you. It is meant to stretch you physically and mentally and spiritually. And once you get to the other side of that, you're just a completely different person. And there's no bouncing back. We bounce forward.
I like that.
There's rebuilding.
There's rebuilding.
There's rebuilding.
Yeah, there's no bounce about it.
No. Yeah, well, and my birth doula, she was great because she told, it was her, and then I got my mom on the call and then Micah on the call. And I was like, okay, we're gonna have, a birth plan. She's like, you do have to have birth preferences because sometimes not everything's going to happen. Like you're going to have that conversation with your OB, and they're going to say this is protocol and here's why. And then you're gonna be like, okay, I can understand that. Okay, we can change that. Um, but also one thing that she said, and doctors haven't been trained or have been trained to say this, but we think like when that's opening and you're at 4 centimeters and you're like, oh man, this is painful. And then you get to like 5 centimeters, you're like, it's a little more painful. 6 centimeters, you're like, okay, yeah, that's really painful. But then you're thinking like, there's no way on earth that I am going to be able to handle the pain of a 10 centimeters. Like that's a lot. But the fact is that pain level is literally the same from that 6 centimeters all the way to that 10 centimeters. It's not like it's going up, but it's literally just staying the same. You're just opening up to 10 centimeters. And so they're like, doctors are like, oh, you're in pain. Here's the epidural. And instead of just saying like, hey, it's okay to be in pain. And it was funny because when I was pregnant with Brooke, and I don't know what it was, but I was on this Dr. Quinn binge. I don't know why, because like my grandma and I used to watch it together, and it's in the Wild West.
No, I
And
wouldn't watch that.
I know, seriously. And they're having these babies and they're pushing in the back of a wagon, like a freaking wagon, guys. There ain't no big epidural. Like there's not. And I'm like, if they can do it in the back of a bouncing wagon,
Mhm.
I can do this. I can do
Mhm.
this without an epidural.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those things, ladies, is like take that reason and put your mind to it. Like mine, I don't want to say like mind over matter, because Nicole's husband says that all the time with like when you're getting into a cold thing or doing something stupid, to be honest.
Because you want to engage your mind. Like, God gave
Yeah.
you me for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like when and it's just this way with everything in life, is like it's a mental game. Like
Mhm.
we have to get our mental and taking your thoughts captive. And because God doesn't want us to think weak of like, oh, I have to have this, oh, I have to have that. But it's like God wants you to know that you are a warrior. Like this is a like Nicole had said, that this is a spiritual battle, honestly. It really is, because you are bringing kids into this world that are going to change the world. When you pray over your pregnancy, when you pray over your labor, everything you do can be used to the glory of God. And so when you are scared and, I guess you could say, having weak thinking, that is not glorifying God. It's not. And yes, there is that, you have to use wisdom. Like for me, my wisdom was, okay, yes, I am going to have a C-section with this baby because I want a good, healthy, alive baby. But there's also the fact of, like, there were some other things that I fought my OB on, of like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not taking that medication. No, she's not getting that. And so
What I think too, like Nicole, you've been saying, is having that good support system. Like I remember with my first, yeah, I would tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, like I want to do it natural. I want to do it without the epidural. And pretty much the response I got from almost everyone was, you're not going to last. And it wasn't like that supportive, like, yeah, this is something you
You
can
don't
do.
get a trophy for delivering a natural. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, but I don't want postpartum anxiety.
Yeah. Or like when I was pushing my induction, I remember I had some people tell me, they're like, your doctor's telling you do this for the safety of your baby. I'm like, I know my body, I know my baby. I've asked the questions like why would I get an induction as a diabetic? Every reason they told me, I didn't have any of those reasons. I was like, I am doing this for my child. Like I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, this is going to harm my child, so let's change it." But
Right.
and then like the epidurals too. There are alternatives too. Like there's, the breathing techniques, but then also, so for me, for 3 of my 4, I did get the epidural. And again, I think a lot of it was that support system. Had I had more of that encouragement and support, but I remember with my first, when I went in, I told the nurse, I said, I'm not doing the epidural. And she was kind of like, okay. And she's like, we'll see how long. And then she'd come in and she could see it was getting stronger. And finally she goes, we do have a medicine you can take instead, like an IV bag. I was like, oh, how come like this wasn't mentioned earlier? Honestly, do not recommend it. Found out afterwards about half the people have the reaction I did, which my husband just told me about a year ago. He's like, yeah, you look drunk on it. I was like, yeah, I remember waking up, having contraction, and passing back out while I was on that. And then with my fourth, my last epidural, that nurse, like all my nurses were great, but this one, like by far my favorite nurse for all of my pregnancies. And she goes, you don't have to have the like big bolus we do with the first epidural. Because I was like, I don't know if I want it. Like I just delivered my third with no epidural. I can probably do it again, but honestly, she was my fourth. I was just so worn out. I was so tired. We had already been in the hospital a few weeks ago, and at that point I was like, just do the C-section, take her out. I'm so tired. And my friend is like, you do not want the C-section. You're 35 weeks. Hang in there. You're okay. And at this point, she was, I think, almost 39 weeks. And she's like, we can just like, we can put it in. We don't have to like turn it on full blast. We can do a small drip of it. I was like, oh, how come I've never been told this before when I'm sitting here saying I don't want the epidural, I want to be able to do it. And so like asking those questions, educating yourself beforehand too is definitely like so helpful. But Nicole, what would you like say to someone if they don't succeed? Like if it does end in a C-section and things just don't go, their VBAC doesn't go as they were hoping or as they were planning.
Yeah, and I experienced this a lot with after I had my C-section, because like I said, I was gonna go natural. I was like all about it. And for a long time I felt like my body had failed me. And I was very down on myself, like, oh, I can't believe I couldn't do this, yada yada yada. And they're just recognizing that sometimes there are things completely out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that your body didn't fail you, knowing that sometimes things just happen, like there's always a reason behind something. Like I'm a firm believer in, like if I step on an acorn and it hurts my foot and keeps me from like going out to the garden for like 5 more minutes, there may have been a snake out there.
Yeah.
Like, there's like there's always these reasons. So like knowing, number one, that your body didn't fail you. And then finding safe people to talk through your birth story with and talk through those disappointments with, because so many times we'd be like, oh yeah, I ended up like having another C-section. People are like, oh, but you have a healthy baby. And it's like, yes, but mentally I was prepared for this and I was given this. So finding good people that can be like, wow, yeah, that really, really sucks. Like, I'm glad your baby's healthy and I'm glad that you're alive, but I completely understand just the disappointment. And so knowing that your body hasn't failed you, finding people that will listen to you, and just like listen to that story and listen to your heart. Um, and and sometimes getting therapy. I had to sit down with a counselor one time because I just had such anxiety based off of my C-section and other health issues that were going on. There's no shame in talking to someone. There's no shame in sitting down with someone that is professionally trained to help you sort through this stuff. So and hugging your baby tightly. And one of the exercises that I did with a pelvic floor therapist was I went back to the OR. I went back to the room and kind of recognized all the different places where the Lord had his hands. And like you can, if you look on my Instagram, you can find my birth story with Ben, and like, I saw angels surrounding us in the OR, and I saw demons coming and trying to snatch us. And so, like, just knowing that the Lord always had his hand around us, and knowing, it sounds so cliche, but knowing that God has a plan. And, like, I'm not saying that God plans for people to have a failed natural birth. Like, God created birth a certain way. He wants us to be able to, like, have that. However, we live in a fallen world and things happen outside of our control. Yet, God is not wasteful. God will always use, even if the devil has like thrown a weapon at us and it has succeeded, he's still going to use that. And like he has used my birth story, he has used that trauma and that C-section to be able to sit down with other moms and talk through a lot of birth trauma, and talk through and like sort through things. He's grown my faith in like astronomical ways, through that, and being able to just really, really dive in. Like had I had a natural birth, my eyes wouldn't be open to all the different things that go on in the medical field when it comes to birthing. And in a way, I think the trauma there has not allowed me to have a home birth like I wanted to. We even like interviewed with the midwife, we're like, okay, we're gonna do home birth for our third, but just didn't feel comfortable with that. And I think that in a way is God saying, here, you show that you can have success with an unmedicated VBAC in a hospital setting. So just knowing that God always has a plan and God is always going to use that, and not allowing the devil to tell you like, oh, well, your body failed, or like, you didn't do this, or like God must not love you because, I've had friends that have dealt with that, and it's just Satan's such a liar. He's such a bully. We just got to tell him to go away and go sit on a tech. Or as I told I told my son the other day, I was like, you need to tell the devil to sit on a tech, and he goes, what's a tech? I said something pokey. So anytime he disobeys, he goes, well, the devil has it sat on a pokey thing. And I'm like, no, that's your responsibility, honey. So just, knowing and recognizing. And then I would say when you're building out your birth plan, this helped me a lot, was, okay, if this birth plan fails, or if these birth preferences fail, this is what I want to happen in the C-section. And it's like, if it's an emergency, put me under, I want baby saved, or if it's okay, well, things aren't happening, or, we need to do a C-section, but it's not like right away, then, okay, well, I want, a spinal block instead of the epidural, and just like building in, you've got your plan A, but then you have your plan B, and building in my plan B really helped me recognize that it was still a part of the plan. It was still a part of my plan. So that's, things happen, and sometimes we don't always get what we want. And sometimes it's just disappointing, and we have to recognize that it's okay to be disappointed. It is okay if you fail at a VBAC. It's not, I don't want to say like it's not the end of the world, but like you're gonna, 10 years from now, not really care because you're gonna have your 10-year-old running around with you. So.
Well, and I will say that is like when you're preparing, you're doing all these healthy things, you're working out, you're getting your body prepared for a natural one, and you have to have a C-section, is like you have to look at it on the light side of things, is like you are healthier for it. Your baby is healthier. Like I can't remember the exact scientific terminology of it, but like if you work out while you're pregnant, like lifting weights and stuff, your baby has a less chance of being obese, and they actually gain muscle faster and better just because you worked out during your pregnancy.
And they put better
And
density.
yeah,
So I was hunting, big old bags of feed and, massive amounts of squash and zucchini from my garden. So I was like, I wasn't lifting weights, but I was lifting weights during pregnancy. And my third baby, you can tell he's just strong. He's smaller, but he's strong. Like, he's dense.
Well, and he has 2 older brothers, so he's gonna have to like hold his own. Sorry. Sorry, little dude.
He it was the first time he was like latched within 5 minutes of being born. And we joked, we're like, yeah, he's heard the chaos outside. He's like, I gotta catch up.
Seriously. Yeah. But, and it's like, you're gonna be healthier for it. Your baby's healthier for it. And like you said, 10 years down the road, you're not even gonna be like, oh, you should have been a VBAC. Sorry, kid.
Right.
I'm so disappointed in you. No.
Right. Like, I loved my first baby, even though we had such a trauma, like it's such a traumatic entrance. Like, you almost, I'm not going to say love them more, but like, there's just a different kind of like connection. Like, oh my gosh, we almost died together. And like the Lord saved us and the Lord had his hand in that. And you just, just hold on to him until you go.
Yep. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And if y'all have any questions for Nicole or us on this subject, we would love to have a conversation with you. So yeah, this has been gold, like pure gold. We were so excited to share this with y'all. And again, if you listen to this, please follow us on Instagram. When you subscribe to the podcast, that helps our reviews go up. And we would love for you to actually like tag us and drop what you took the most out of this. And also, if you're pregnant or you're wanting to get pregnant and you are wanting to do a VBAC, we would love to connect with you so we can help be your support system. Like, we're here to be your cheerleaders also. So thank y'all so much for listening in, and we will see y'all next time.
Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for moms. I thank you that you created us. I thank you for the power that you created us with. Lord, I just pray right now over every mom that is going to be pregnant, listening to this podcast, every mom that is wanting to get pregnant, listening to this podcast. Lord, I just ask that this prayer would continue on in their life. But Lord, I pray that you would give them success. I pray that you would give them favor. Lord, I pray over their doctors, their nurses, their providers, their spouses, their doulas, whoever is going to be in the room with them. God, I pray that you would just anoint their birth. Lord, I just pray protection over all of these babies that are coming into the world. We have an adversary who hates children. And to that we answer, we're going to have more and we're going to raise them in the Lord. God, I just pray over these moms. God, I pray that you would give them peace. I pray that you would give them the ability to just sit down at your feet each day, even if it's for just a couple quiet moments. God, I thank you that you meet us in the chaos. You meet us in the chaos of eggs flying all over the house or the toys being fought over. Lord, I just thank you that you meet us there. I just pray that you would give us the ability to be stronger, Lord. Make us stronger spiritually first and foremost, but make us stronger physically, so that way we can just be present mothers with our children and show them love and show them just the love of the Father through our hands. Lord, I thank you for Brittany and Jessica and for what they're doing and the ministry that they have in health. And I just I pray over any future babies because they will be my nieces or nephews. I just thank you that you have planned and you are building our families. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love for you to come hang out with us over on Instagram. You can find us at The Strong and Steady. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next time on Strong and Steady.